So I've just finished installing a full suspension kit to my Defender. The old suspension was knackered, the springs were the wrong weight, the shocks had blown, and some of the bushes were completely perished. Now that I've kitted the truck out with a lot of gear, and when we go traveling, there's a lot of stuff in the back, the handling was really bad. It was rolling a lot. Also, it was sagging a lot on the rear as well. So I did a bit of research into different options. Obviously, there's a lot of options, different springs and shock manufacturers. I even looked into air suspension, but that was really expensive and certainly wouldn't have been as reliable as standard shocks and springs. But I've known about Gwyn Lewis for a long time, and I've always had my eye on his suspension kits. After digging around a bit, I decided to just give Gwyn a call and speak to him about the suspension kits that he offers and see which one would suit me best. So if you have a look on Gwyn's website, you'll see that he offers 3 different suspension kits. He recommended to me to go for the Explorer, which is the mid-range with plus 3-inch shocks. I also decided to get all of the suspension arms blasted and powder coated when I removed them, because I had to take them off anyway to get the bushes changed. When I removed the rear shocks as well, I found some hidden corrosion that I didn't know was there. More on that later in the video. So like my previous videos, I'm going to go into more specific details now. If you're not interested in the minor details, then just skip to the timestamp. So first off, let's talk about the springs and the shocks. There's a lot of different options of springs based on the weight that you're going to be carrying and also the ride height that you want to achieve. So before I called Gwyn, I figured out a real rough number of how much weight is in the back of the vehicle when going on camping trips, so that when I spoke to him, I had a rough number that I could give him so that we could try and select the correct springs to suit that will keep the correct height when fully loaded. So at the moment, when the vehicle's not loaded up with all the gear, it's sitting a bit too high. But when all of the camping equipment's in the back, the fridge is full of food, we've got water, we've got clothes, then it should come down to about standard height. I don't want a lift. I'm quite happy with the standard Defender height. It's plenty capable, and I've got pretty much standard size tyres. So Gwyn sells Old Man Emu shocks and springs, and on his website there's a page called Spring Information. On that page he lists all of the Old Man Emu springs that he offers and the technical specs. So on that page you will see listed next to each spring that it has a rating of newtons per millimetre. So for example, the front springs that I ended up going with have a rating of 39 newtons per mil, and it's pretty easy to convert newtons into mass. It's basically divided by 10. So that means that the 39 newtons per mil is actually 3.9 kilograms of weight will compress that spring by 1 millimetre. So if you really wanted to, you could work out how much you're going to compress that specific spring based on how much extra load you're going to be putting into your vehicle. I didn't do that. I let Gwyn pick the springs specifically for me based on his experience with these vehicles, because he's been doing it for years and I trust his judgment. But I just wanted to put it in there because it's interesting. It's worth mentioning as well, when picking the springs, Gwyn did say if he's got it wrong, he's more than happy for me to send them back and swap them out for the next size up, as long as they're in good condition. So all that said, the springs that I ended up going with are the OME 2751 for the front and the OME 2762 for the rear. So with the shocks, there's basically medium or firm. Gwyn recommended going for the firm to try and reduce the body roll that I was experiencing. Both the shocks are plus 3-inch extension. This means that you get 3 inches extra travel on your axle and your suspension, not 3 inches lift. So I also got a full bush kit supplied by Gwyn. They are polyurethane bushes made by Super Pro Bushes in Australia. Super Pro manufactures all sorts of suspension bushings and components. They're a well-known company and Gwyn recommended them as the best option. So as part of the kit, I also got all new hardware, shock mounts, spring retainers, dislocation cones. I also got a full bolt kit for all the suspension arms and suspension components and a new ball joint for the A-frame. So it's worth mentioning as well, before fitting the suspension, I had already fitted wide angle props on the front and the rear and extended brake lines. Both of these are essential if you're going to be fitting a suspension kit that's going to increase the travel to ensure that you're not going to bind up your UJs or put any tension on any of your brake lines. In case you're wondering how much all of that set me back, the total cost for the whole suspension system was about £2,000. Yeah, it's definitely not the cheapest option, but as I've said in my previous videos, I'm trying to build a vehicle that I can rely on and isn't going to leave me stranded in the middle of nowhere. All right, that's enough talking now. Let's jump into the footage. So jacking the vehicle up was a bit awkward. I couldn't put the axle stands underneath the axles because I needed to remove all of the suspension. This meant that I had to jack the chassis up and put the axle stands underneath the chassis. Removing everything was pretty straightforward. There were a few seized bolts, but generally it was alright.
Look at these bad boys.
So when I removed the shock, I found the hole on the lower shock mount had turned into an oval from where the shock had been walking in the mount. I did consider getting a whole mount welded on both sides, but this would have been a lot of work and the actual shock was in decent condition. So I decided to make a 5mm plate that fitted on top of the mount with the correct size hole in and then just weld it on top of the original mount. When I removed the upper shock mount, I found a hole in the chassis. The actual shock mount had been corroding and it had just like swollen into the chassis rail. I cut a section out of the chassis rail and made a 4mm plate that fit in there perfectly until it was flat, and then I just welded the edges up. Removing the bushes, I used a lot of heat. Most of them came out pretty easy because the previous owner had already replaced some of the bushes with poly bushes. The ones that were still original were a lot harder to remove. I ended up drilling through from both sides using a lot of heat and smashing it with a hammer. So this is all of the suspension arms. We've got the trailing arms, radius arms and the A-frame. This is all going to get sandblasted and powder coated. I'm going to get it all painted yellow that matches the shocks. So here's everything once I got it back from the paint shop. I've been going to Treston Finishers for a long time now. They always impress me with the quality of their work. It's worth noting as well that because everything got shot blasted, all of the holes on all the suspension arms were cleaned out properly before fitting the new bushes. Fitting the new bushes was surprisingly quick. Found a piece of stud bar and 2 big washers, covered the bushes in grease and used my rattle gun to pull them straight in. Next up was to protect and paint all of the shock and spring mounts and the parts of the chassis that I'd welded. I cleaned up any corrosion or dirt or old paint with a wire wheel and then used Buzzweld rust encapsulator to prime onto the bare metal surfaces. Then moved on to using Buzzweld's War underbody coating. I used this about 5 years ago and it lasts really well. It dries so that it's not tacky and it's really hard wearing. When refitting, I covered everything with K48 moly grease to prevent corrosion and to make it easy to remove in the future. Fitting the rear spring retainers, you have to make sure you leave between 10 and 40mm overhang of the spring. When positioning the spring, you also have to make sure that it's in the correct orientation so that the hook can engage onto the spring. My initial impressions was that the vehicle was a lot higher. Because there was nothing in the back, I reckon it was probably about a 2-inch lift. Straight away I could tell the difference. Took it straight down a local byway and give it a good run down there. This is when I really noticed the difference. I was cruising down this gravel track going over massive ditches and I could hardly notice any of it. So the plan was to load up the back of the truck as if we're going away and try and simulate a full load situation to see if the springs are the correct size. I didn't actually get time to do that, but I'm planning to do that soon. The roll-in has definitely improved as well, but again, it's hard to know without simulating a loaded scenario. I am also aware that if the roll-in is still bad when loaded up, then I can look into getting an anti-roll bar on the front. Thanks for watching. I hope you found some of it useful or learnt a couple bits. I've got loads of footage now of other stuff I've been doing, so I'll be working on another video soon. Catch you there.